This is Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, sponsored by Alive Credit Union.
Yeah, welcome to 2025 and welcome to our first edition of Fleet and Footy to kick off the new year. And what a year we've got in store for you. Stuart Weber here along with Llerandi, and we're not going to bury the lead. We got a special guest in studio with us today. It's head coach Tommy Krizanovic. Hey. Coach, how's it going?
It's going great. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me. Heard a lot about you guys. So, yeah, excited.
Yes, of course, we've mentioned your name quite a bit on this show, not only from the work with the Armada under 23s, but then more recently the work with the Academy as well. And we'll certainly get into that a little bit over this next hour and have some fun here. And Lou, how you doing? You good?
Doing good. Just got back from a trip. Had a nice little vacation. So I'm rejuvenated. I'm ready. I'm excited for the show. Ready to have Tommy on. Talk some Dolphin soccer. Talk some Armada soccer. So excited.
Yeah, you definitely wore your hat on purpose today.
Of course. Had to show out for a JU alumni. You know that I do the play-by-play for men's and women's soccer. So had to represent.
Yeah, shout out to your Dolphins, of course, Tommy
Fins
Krizanovic.
Fins up.
We'll say fins up all day long as well. From his time at the Oak Shrouded Arlington campus.
That's right.
And what a time it was. All right, so we're going to get into some global soccer in a little bit. Of course, we got your weird soccer story of the week. That's coming up, and that's a fun one this week, thanks to Lou's digging. You found us a good story.
I held on to this one early on, right after our show, and it just happened to be that Tommy Krizanovic is on the show. That his last name will...
It's a little hint.
Be very important later on.
Yes. So we'll get into that a little bit. But we wanted to start by kind of going down the journey of what has led you to this point, Coach, and having that in front of your name now as coach. I don't know if maybe you would have expected that that's the route things would have gone. But for you, I think one of the coolest things about your story and having followed it since the beginning of the Armada is just how local of a guy you've been in your soccer journey. Growing up, and getting a chance to play high school, college, and then professional soccer in Northeast Florida here in Jacksonville. Let's go back to the kind of the early days for you and talk a little bit about, playing high school soccer at Englewood and figuring out that you wanted to go to JU and go play there.
Yeah. Well, it was quite a journey even coming here. But then once I did get here with my family, I think...
Now, what year was that exactly you guys got here?
So 1999.
Okay, so you're about 14?
Yep, 14, turning 15, freshman year of high school. Came in a little bit late, but, navigated through and I'd say as best as I could have, not knowing the language and working through some obstacles and a little bit of adversity. But, I wasn't the only one. From my region that was here. We had made a lot of friends from Europe, from Bosnia, from Serbia, from Croatia, and so it was a little bit easier to kind of get integrated, and still to this day some friendships that have started back then in 1999. So was quite a journey.
And somehow you end up at Englewood. Of all the places, I think it has to do with the community, right? A lot of immigrant families kind of moved to that neighborhood, and their kids went to that high school. I know we've kind of seen it over the years with that group.
Yeah, so it's because they had a ESOL program, English for
students of other languages.
Students of other languages.
That sounds right.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that would make sense.
I forgot. I'm out of the program. So
You graduated the program. I think that's the key there.
But I think partially that's what it was, and so you had a lot, and not just from our region, South America, Africa, really diverse school. So kind of got there and worked my way through the 4 years. Played soccer, obviously, for Englewood.
What was that soccer team like? If you think about it, I mean, I think that's one of my favorite experiences from playing high school soccer is just how diverse that group was. And not all sports are like that, right? Some sports can be a little cliquey. But in the game of soccer, you all speak the language of soccer. You don't have to speak the same language interpersonally, but you do when you're on that field. And I'm sure that group was kind of like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a special group. We, a lot of the teammates didn't know English, so having soccer as a common language was one, most important. Having a coach that kind of connected us and really knew how to work with all of us, because he was also a teacher, that helped obviously. But I think working through some of the obstacles of the language barrier and then some other pieces, once we clicked, we really clicked. I mean, we had players from everywhere, from Guatemala, from Senegal, from Albania, from Bosnia, Germany, I mean, everywhere. And so it was a really, really special group. And it was really cool to see culturally the differences of the game that everyone brought to the table. That was very amazing to see. Some of the Americans that, we even had, like Daniel Murphy played on the team,
Yep. So he played some soccer too while he was there?
He was our goalkeeper.
He's your goalkeeper.
Yeah.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
didn't know that.
And he,
of course, for our soccer audience, Daniel Murphy went on to a Major League Baseball career, a fantastic one. So obviously his talents lied in another sport, a little bit more than maybe his goalkeeping, but very cool.
Yeah, I think funny enough, he did it probably as a off-season kind of stay in shape type thing for baseball to keep him ready for baseball. But he was a really good goalkeeper, and yeah, I think the mixture of everything coming together and everyone really doing their part. My junior and senior year, we were not only really successful, we were really good. We were really good. Yeah, so very special group.
Well, obviously, you did so well at Inglewood. You move on to JU. What was that experience like? I know that now you get to go back and coach at JU. Is that kind of special that you get to coach not only the team that you played for, the Armada, but go back and coach at JU specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I was fortunate enough to have had, I've actually had the opportunities to be able to go elsewhere, out of state for college. So my 4 years at Inglewood, and then academically everything combined, I could have gone, whether it was Washington, whether it was North Carolina, could have gone to different places.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose not to. I chose actually to stay in Jacksonville because Jacksonville started becoming a home to me. We have moved as a family so much, because of the circumstances with back home, with the war and having been refugees and whatnot. So having the opportunity of actually not having to move and playing in Jacksonville was second to none, right? So that was great. And then moving into Jacksonville, into JU, again, some obstacles, some things that you're learning kind of on the go, not a lot of guidance, but navigating through it and now reflecting back, yeah, there was always some things that could have been, handled better or done better, but I think I made most of it, or what I could have, and yeah, absolutely loved my 4 years at JU.
Talking to the guys, he wanted the ball, he turned himself into a play.
What was that sales pitch like as we take a look at some of your later years, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but what was that sales pitch kind of like for those guys from JU to keep you in town?
I was recruited by my freshman year college coach Bob Moulin, who I think is pretty much still in the soccer scene in the MLS Next on the youth side as well, and Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson at the time was with the girls program and then transitioned over to the men's program, women's to men's, and so I think having them kind of help. Mike was a really good recruiter. He brought in, again, players from all over the globe, but it didn't. I don't really think they had to sell much. I think I sat down with my father, and he said, "Hey, listen, wherever you decide to go, we'll go with you. We'll pack up everything and we'll go and we'll move again." And I think that was kind of the turning point for me to say, "No, we don't have to go anywhere. Let's stay in Jacksonville." And I'm happy I did, because now looking back at that experience, you also see the opportunity and the growth of soccer in Jacksonville, but also the people. You wouldn't believe, but Jacksonville is quite diverse. Not many would say that, but it is very, very diverse. So, yeah, it's very fortunate to have done so and have been able to stay.
then once again you're showing out, but this time at JU, gets you drafted by FC Dallas. Can you talk about what that experience was like? Just because now it's so glitz and glamour, it feels like there's a lot going on for the MLS draft. They hype it up quite a bit. I can imagine back in 07, it wasn't quite as big of a deal, but I'm sure it was massive to you.
Yeah, so and it's a little bit different now than it was back then. Back then, the first thing that happened before you even are able to be drafted, you have a season, and then from that season, as a senior, maybe as a junior, maybe as a Generation Adidas guy, you know, you go into a situation where somebody calls you and says, "Hey, you've been selected to go to the combine." So that was really my journey with that piece. I was called by them to arrange flight situations to get to Fort Lauderdale, because that's where they will hold the combine, the MLS combine.
Like an NFL combine. This is great.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, right? So, and just like the NFL combine, you would go in, you would do various tests, you would do sprint, measurements of sprint distance, 10, 40-yard dash.
Just like you put the boys through at the beginning of the season, right?
Absolutely, right? So just to have indicators of where each player is, so that when those coaches at that MLS level, that pro level, are watching the games, because then we also play games, they have a good understanding and better understanding of who they're actually bringing in, who they're drafting. So a lot of detail goes into it. I think a little bit different now, but a lot of detail goes into it, and a very, very, very cool experience overall.
I just find it so interesting, your pathway, not only in the United States, but then from FC Dallas, you go to Germany, I want to say, right? Offenburger?
Yeah, so what happened there was I was released by FC Dallas, and then came back, and a lot of people actually don't know that, but I finished my college degree when I came back. I actually had not finished college yet.
Okay.
So I graduated in December, so I came back, graduated, and then my agent called me and said, "Hey, why don't we go to Europe and let's explore the market and go from there." I came in a little bit late, so it was tough to find after preseason a group, especially around that time, because not because I was outside the transfer window, but more so because teams have already established themselves. So I had an opportunity to play somewhere where I've, locally where I've kind of grown up around. So Offenburg FB was the club, and very fortunate to have been with them for that period of time, and made those experiences and also friendships and relationships. Had to then come back for some personal reasons back home, and had another opportunity to go back to Switzerland. And I was at a point where I was just saying to myself, I can either do this, going back and forth, or I could try and stay in the game and coach. And I'll tell you what maybe others won't, or what maybe other pro players will experience. But when you're in the pro game for quite a bit, whether little or long in soccer as a general, at some point you have to make up your mind about what you'll do next. And for a lot of players, a lot of guys, that's women and men, that can be really hard, not knowing what's next. Mm-hmm. So you're 30, 34, 35, you're 28. Whenever that time comes, you have to decide what you'll do. And so if you don't have a plan in place, it's really tough. So my plan was to coach. Pat Cannon at the time gave me a phone call and he said, "Hey, now that you're done, why don't you come out to the field and show some of the young ones how the game's played, and maybe develop and teach a little bit." And so I took on his advice, came out, and thankful to him that everything he's done for me, and given me an opportunity to be a coach on the youth side, and that's how really things started.
It's really easy to make that decision when you're graduating high school and you have no future in soccer ahead of you. I will say it was a lot easier for me to not have to worry about making those decisions between pro careers, and instead I just went and did intramural soccer in college and got a lot of red cards because you can't slide tackle in intramural soccer. They wouldn't let you slide tackle.
Did not know that.
At UF, I can tell you by personal experience that they did not like me slide tackling because I was, that was part of my game. I was pretty good at it. I like to think. Got a couple shins here and there, do what you got to do.
Sometimes you got to take a shin with you. You
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But that journey for you leads you back to Jacksonville and to, at the time, Jacksonville United, and what was kind of a precursor to the under-23 team for the Armada. I know the names have kind of changed and shifted over the years, but you were able to play some high-level amateur soccer before we get to the Armada days, which, what a cool story that is of you getting a chance to play for the new NASL team in town. But let's start by talking about, I believe that would be the NPSL that was in, and that's what currently the under-23 team is in.
That's right.
But those years playing for that team, which included a national championship, which is pretty cool. I mean, the fact that that team was able to go do that, and you were certainly a big part of that group.
Yeah, absolutely. What an experience that was. And I remember like it was yesterday. Pat asked myself and some of the other guys that had played pro that were still in the market, and exactly why everything that we do, why we do, just the talent that you have in Jacksonville. And we all said, it's 3 or 4 of us, and we said, yeah, let's put together a group, play in this NPSL. It was fairly new. We'd have some travel and we'd kind of navigate and figure some things out. But we were, I don't even remember the record, but we just barely got into playoffs. I think we had to have...
Those are the best years.
Yeah.
That team that just barely sneaks in and then goes on a run.
It was like we had to have 3 things go into our favor. And I think all 3 things, by a small margin, went into our favor. And
guys,
somehow we were in
playoffs. 6-0-4 that year in regular season. So 6 wins, 4 losses. And I guess it got you in.
That got us in.
Yeah.
I think it was a tiebreak. It was like a 3-way tiebreaker at the end between us, Chattanooga, and another team. But because of head-to-head results, I think we got in, and yeah, we took our chances and ran with it.
Awesome. Tell me about the championship game. I believe you had yourself a heck of a game in that one, didn't you?
I did. I think we all together as a group, I think what made that group was that we were so close, from recovery to being able to enjoy the next day after the semifinal and hanging out. And we were very different. We were older, experienced. I think we had a group of guys that just knew how to take care of their bodies without having somebody to tell you what to do and whatnot. So I think it was a very collective group that came out in that final that, going down 1-0, tying 1-1, going down 2-1, tying 2-2, and winning 3-2. It's that experience that you see psychologically that group had a lot going for them, and that's where we were. We knew that we were in a situation that we wanted to be in, and I think just the experience carried us. To be honest with you,
who scored all those goals? By the way, I'm just curious.
He's curious. This guy's humble.
We got a humble guy in the studio here. You got a championship game hat trick, man.
MVP.
That's right. Yeah,
MVP.
I was fortunate enough to find myself in the right time in the right positions, but also thankful to the guys and Remy, who had 3 assists. Remy had 3 assists that day, and take it back to like high school years. Who played with me? He said he could find me in a haystack as a needle. He was like whatever terms he used, but that was like our relationship was really, really strong, and those things pay off in games.
How often have you kind of leaned on that playing experience in relating to the players you've now coached, like with this under-23 team? I mean, a couple years back, we had that opportunity to make a nice run into the playoffs, and the playoffs are different now, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's at a point where almost every team has kind of a spot in that giant bracket, and then it whittles down to one. Back then, I mean, you mentioned it. You guys were the only one out of your conference to get a spot into that little bracket. It's all on Wikipedia, folks, if you want to go check it out from the 2011 NPSL season. But it's very different now. How much have you been able to lean on that playing experience as you relate things to the kids of today?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, different, right? Because the NPSL has grown so much. The league's success has shown, and it's become more and more difficult to get into a Final Four situation. But, taking our experience. I mean, in general, as a coach, I think what molds you as a player, and having made the experiences with other coaches, you kind of take what you like the most, where you saw most success from, and where I saw most success from is applying to any, whether it's amateur team, youth team, professional team. I think relationships on the field, on and off the field, are so important, which is why we do what we do the way we do it. And I think the guys that come into our environment really enjoyed it and wanted to come back because of that. So the experiences have been made from not only winning that championship, but even the years after, are always applied. Always applied on the training field, off the training field, in game situations, and at the end, you have to then trust your players that they do what they need to do. Sometimes we prevail, sometimes we don't, and but at the end, we want to do it our way. We want to do things the Armada way, and that's all we really care about.
We touch on that a lot. At least Stuart and I do on the show. The Armada culture, the Armada way. I definitely like to put that out in the air, because I feel like we really do something different here in the 904. It's not just a team. We try to really make it a community, a family, and I think that helps out with Section 904, with the way that we run the team and with the way that you coach the players. So it's been an honor to really see that happen, in front of me live, from seeing you play at the baseball grounds, watching you score that goal against the Cosmos. So, seeing it live and up front and personal, seeing you mold these men. And so it's really awesome. It's been really awesome to see that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's what we're all about. That's what we want to do. We want to give. We don't think of the team as just the individuals of 22, 23 guys. We think of the team as a family, and within that family, you have everyone else involved. That's the staff, the operational staff, you guys. We have Section 904. We have the community, and that's we're wearing a badge on our chest for those reasons. We want to represent something more, and that's how we want to carry ourselves on the field as well. And if we cannot fill up the stands, if it's difficult to fill up the stands because of the way we play, then we're doing something wrong. But if we're filling up stands because of the way we play, we want to play exciting football, exciting soccer, and win, lose, or tie, we want to be able to bring people into the stands and enjoy their experience, have an enjoyable experience.
That one goal, by the way, one of many that were difficult to call from the radio booth. We'll take a look here, because this is on the complete opposite side of where we had to call the game from, mind you. You could say it's all the way out there in right field, as you see it happen. Tommy sneaking behind.
The Tomo train.
Talk us through this, because not everyone will recognize those green jerseys, but that's the New York Cosmos, which at the time, that name still meant certainly a whole lot. It does to a lot of people still. But that was an important goal for the Armada and for you. I mean, what an experience that must have been. Talk us through this day.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to start that game. I actually remember it like it was yesterday. And
it was not yesterday.
It was not yesterday.
For those at home.
But we had been on a bit of a dry run. We hadn't done really well, and I think we really needed that win to kind of bring us back together again. And again, fortunate enough to be having played, fortunate enough to again be at the right time in the right spot, and really contribute, and I think it helped the group a lot. It helped the fan base. I know it was a big game for us. Cosmos, you have the likes of Raul coming in and playing against, and who doesn't even want to shake hands afterwards, because you lost. But it's those experiences that were made exciting games that we're all about. And yeah, really thankful for that experience.
What were some of those early years of the Armada like for you? I mean, when they first kind of announced, all right, we're bringing in Tommy Krizanovic and Llerandi Rustich. We're bringing some local guys onto the team. Everyone's like, okay, cool. Let's bring in some local guys. Let's bring in some guys from here in Northeast Florida. For us, it was cool in the media perspective, but for you guys, I mean, that had to be such a great moment to know, okay, at the time, I mean, the NASL is the second tier of American soccer. You're talking a pretty big league with a whole lot of backing to get that opportunity in your hometown with all that buzz around it. How'd that process go at the start for you to get involved with the Armada?
Yeah, I mean, well,
because you weren't playing for a professional team at the time.
I was coaching.
Coaching.
I was coaching. We were playing for Jacksonville United, who then
who later becomes the U23 team,
Exactly.
which I always say that we should have a star above our badge. That's my one for the U23 team.
Yeah,
for Tommy
it was under-
Krizanovic's
It was under a
NPSL
different
win.
name, though. I get what you're saying. The star is inside.
Exactly.
There's a star in the heart.
The star right here. You know
That's
what I
it.
mean? There's
That's
a star
right.
coaching him. So
So here you go. Here's your official announcement when they brought in Nerden Rustich, Tommy Krizanovic, and Nico Zaldana. I remember the press conference. I was there covering it back in the day,
Nice.
from the local TV perspective. But yeah, that first group being assembled with the Armada to play in the NASL in those early days.
Yeah, no, it was really, really special. Well, first of all, that star, we'll make sure we get that star, right? We're going to make sure we get that star. But it was really special because, again, Nerden is one of the guys that I'm still friends with. You know, I just hung out with him the last 3 days, him and his family. So it was really cool from the Armada and Mark Fish, the owner at the time, and obviously the whole staff and Nathan to come and say, we want to invest into our local guys. And they did. You know, and that's what we're all about. We believe in local talent here in Jacksonville, and so having Nerd in there, Toby, Remy, Tyler, Nico, who was somewhat local
Orlando,
as well.
yeah.
Orlando, you know, like having those guys come in and play for this organization, for this family was really, really special. And, you know, and even the guys that came from the outside, we still have, you know, those relationships are still there. You know, Sean Nicola, I just saw not too long ago. We
saw him at MLS Next
That's right.
Fest. Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
Very cool.
He's lost a few pounds. You know, he looks great.
He does.
But we have.
We
You know,
can't get rid of that Jamal Johnson guy either. We just can't get him out of our lives.
He's always around.
Just goes to tell you how special I think Jacksonville really is for guys to want to stay here. You know, Keita, who's still here, who has his family here, and, you know, Jamal, who's still here, and others I could probably name. It just goes to tell you how great of a city this is. You know, and what people that want to lay, you know, put their roots down and grow their families here.
And that's not just the Armada level, by the way. We see that with Jaguars players all the time.
Nice.
who have their choice of anywhere they could live in the world. And a lot of them decide, all right, after I'm done with football, I want to set down my roots here in Northeast Florida just because of this community.
Right. So very, very telling, you know, very cool. But yeah, it was special.
Any favorite road trips from those early years? I know that Puerto Rico was on the schedule back in the day. I'm not sure. Were you still with them when San Francisco joined the league, the Deltas?
San Francisco joined the league, I think, the year after. I think they won it out of the
They were the
first
final.
They were the last champion of the NASL, as
Yeah.
random as it was with their $10 logo that they got put together. But I digress.
No.
It was just like a triangle. I don't know. It was a very lame logo. We have a proper crest. You
We'll
know?
do a logo episode one day. We'll do a logo.
Yeah, we'll do that.
No, all the trips were really special, and really how it led up to it. You know, having the local guys go through a development phase to kind of weed out who else could make that jump, and how it all kind of like those, I guess, you know, 4 to 6 months kind of was all put together from the announcement with Miggy Gallardo, from, you know, with us, and then obviously bringing in players from outside of the country that were really special, you know, and yeah, some of the trips were unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember there was a trip where I think we're gone for like 10 days. We're in Minnesota, out of Minnesota, back to Minnesota. I think it was like Open Cup into Richmond, back to Minnesota, something along
I remember
those lines.
that Richmond Open Cup game.
we all remember
yeah,
the Richmond
yeah.
Open Cup game.
Yeah, so it was really cool. You know, like you were around each other all the time, and who better with than, you know, some of the friends that you had grown up with as well. So, you know, very, 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 very good memories, and obviously some things that we wish would have gone a little bit better as far as results, but here we are. You know, it's, an organization that is not only still alive, but an organization that is striving to do even better for this community.
All right, we'll get into a little bit more Armada stuff and kind of that transition to full-time coaching and working obviously with the under-23 team and now the academy teams. But first, we're going to take a quick break here on Fleet and Footy. When we come back, more with the head coach, Tommy Krizanovic, Louis Llerandi, and myself, Stuart Weber, right here on Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Look at that young spry guy. Look at Jamal sneaking his way into the show in the picture as well. Good stuff back in the day with the Armada. We got more coming up on Fleet and Footy. People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Imagine a brokerage platform that gives agents the flexibility to move between comp plans so that they can spend their entire career in one place while earning stock and recruiting other agents. And imagine the entire enterprise is created and backed by a proven industry innovator. Now imagine this platform already exists. Imagine you own this platform. Imagine how large you can grow. How much revenue share you can earn. Just imagine.
Get local sports on demand with Action Sports Jacks 24/7. All sports, all local, all the time. From the locker room to the field, the Jacks, high school football, the Jacksonville Armada, and don't forget, the Brett and Austin Show. They're all in on Trevor. Of course. Download the Action News Jacks Now app, available wherever you stream or at actionnewsjacks.com. TV, phone, laptop, desktop. Action Sports Jacks 24/7. Jacksonville sports, all the time.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krizanovic's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
This is Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, sponsored by Alive Credit Union.
And we are back here inside the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 studios, kicking off 2025 with a bang on Fleet and Footy, as Lou puts one into the back of the net. You like the new promo?
I love it. You get to hear my voice in it, and also you get to hear now Tommy Krizanovic say live on air that he could make me score a goal if I was put on in an MPSL game against GSP, correct?
It's
there's a lot. There's a lot of variables there for me to get the goal, but
the reason why I do what I do is to help players get better. So I'm very optimistic. I could.
I don't.
You hear that, Stu?
I'm not as optimistic, and it's got nothing to do with Coach Krizanovic's skills. I will say that. Then again, it's the same with me. I would not have been able to score.
You need to throw me in the MLS Combine. I need to get ready. I need a week probably of practice before I could score.
A week?
Yeah, a week. If I'm getting 10 minutes at the end of a game, I can do a 10-minute, 15-minute.
The only thing that would work for you is our weird soccer story of the week a couple weeks ago, like the streamer who came on for 60 seconds.
Exactly. It could be
the beginning of the
co-host
game.
of Fleet and Footy coming on. That's a big draw. That would be a big draw.
Let's just say you have a really strong development plan.
That's right.
Fast track me.
Yeah.
I will say, I know my coworker, Brent Martineau, had a chance to play for the Jacksonville Giants. So the Giants was a basketball team in the ABA. They went away a couple of years ago, but they won I think 6 championships.
A lot.
They won a bunch of championships. And they have this part of the league where you can add an extra player onto your roster kind of thing for stuff like this. So your local TV guy can come in and get in there. And I remember Brent got teed up in the second half because he was wearing a GoPro on his chest. And I guess they didn't approve that beforehand because he's out there running around with a GoPro. And they're like, teed him up.
That's amazing.
He got teed up, but he hit some three. He hit some 3 balls. He did well in his time with the Giants. But I don't see that happening for you, Lou, when it comes to the NPSL.
Well, I mean, we can talk a little bit more about Tommy's real coaching instead of coaching me. I mean, you just went out to California. I'd like to touch on that just a second because Stuart and I talked about it so much, but I mean, you can only hear Stuart and I talk about the academy so much. I'd like to hear it from the man himself. So, obviously, you are the academy director. You coach the U17s and U16 teams, but that U19 team, how special was that run?
Absolutely incredible. A group that's been together for very long as well. I had them at U13. Some of the guys that we kept, that we really saw a lot of potential in. And then a mixture of a group from 2006 at U13, 2007, combining it at U19 age group and really showcasing their talent was very, very special and really incredible. Never mind the wins and getting to the final, but really the experience to get there. Having them play under a lot of pressure in front of people, in front of scouts, and really important games. And they were always reminded what it's all about, always reminded about the badge, and I thought they did such a good job. A very collective group, came together. They managed themselves almost, and it was a long road to get them to do those things, but they do, and they're very self-led, and that's, I think, what makes them so special.
Well, you just touched on it a little bit there. These guys, with that experience in a tournament like MLS Next Fest, they get the experience of kind of being in the playoff format. I mean, Stuart and I touched on it before. The College Cup is a massive tournament. The NPSL postseason, once again, another massive cross-country tournament. So do you expect to see some of these guys in the new season in 2025?
You mean in the 23 season?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the cool thing is we've already seen some of it. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these players on this under-19 team were actually on the U23s this past summer.
That's right. Danny Stevens, Ryan Paul, and we look forward to having more. I can't really discuss who yet.
Yeah.
But
you don't need to get the details. Yeah.
But
You're not going to get into the league stuff, Lou. Come on, man.
Yeah,
It's,
but,
it's January. We got a
got a
while to
long
build
way.
the roster here. Come on.
we're very optimistic about them. From how we want to introduce them into the locker room, into the training environment, how they develop the training sessions, and what they can and cannot do. But it is, fundamentally everything that we do is we want to develop our players, our own players. We want to grow our players and for them to become pros. And we're watching them. We're watching them very, very detailed. And something that Elmar Bolovic, the head coach, has done a really good job with is allowing them to be self-disciplined, allowing them to make those experiences on their own and think about the game. Like you said, a playoff run versus the league run is very different. You have an identity that you want to stick with, you want to develop until you get into the playoffs, and then in the playoffs you hope that everything kind of matches up and works out. But you also have to remind yourself that in a playoff run that you have to sometimes adjust and adapt to survive. And that's really difficult when you compare the MLS or an American structured league that goes from league and development into a playoff to win or you're out, compared to
Standard league.
a standard league where the Bundesliga or any league in Europe League, Premier League, very very much like Champions League. You have your bracket of 4. You get, it's changed now, right?
Yeah.
But when you did,
Always changing.
always changing. When you did, it's you have to adjust, you have to adapt, and that's what the 19s did really well. They adjusted, they adapted, they survived, and they got they went really far.
Survive and advance is what they say in bracket play. And to kind of catch up, maybe some of our casuals who are listening and maybe getting confused by all the different teams. So under the business card of Tommy Krizanovic, there are a few titles right now. Of course, head coach for the under-23 team, and that's a team that's basically been going since the NASL went away. So really, since 2018, that under-23 team in the NPSL has kind of been the Armada squad, the main squad over the course of the summer. That's a team composed of not only our local young guys, but also a lot of college kids that come from all over the country and get to play on that team during the summer. It's an amateur league, but it's also not an amateur league. It's a little weird. Some teams are able to bring in professional players, and we did at the beginning of it back in the day when we were kind of transitioning with that roster. But a lot of teams, you see it as a truly amateur league. And then we also have MLS Next, which is now this U19, 17, 16. Eventually, all the other ones as well will get folded in there at some point. But that has been Jacksonville FC over the years now, and has now fallen under that Armada and MLS Next umbrella a little bit. And you've been coaching the 16s and 17s really all fall along. So just kind of clarifying for people at home to kind of put it all together. And then obviously a lot of help with the development of the U19s as well. Coach Elmar has mentioned the head coach on game days for those and during practices. So two very different groups, right? The young guys of MLS Next, the a little bit older but still young guys of the under 23 squad. How different do you coach these kind of different groups? Because the mindsets are very different from one to the other.
Actually, you're right, and everything is so. Actually, it starts even earlier, 13 through 15 with Jacksonville FC's MLS Next program, which I also oversee, tying into then the Armada 16, 17s, and 19s Academy program, and to then filter in and filter out some of the guys to see what who can make the jump to the 23s, and some may not. If you don't, hopefully we've created a pathway for the players that if they don't make the jump to the 23s, it's probably just because they're not ready yet. We don't know if they will be ready at some point.
Did you hear that, Lou? That's you. That's you over there. You're not ready quite yet.
I'm 23, so I got one more year, right? Or a couple more months.
Yeah.
Hence the development plan. It's maybe some of the guys that are not ready. Hopefully they're going into a college program.
Yeah.
And whether that's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, JUCO, whatever that may be.
Whatever fits them.
Whatever fits them, right? Because you have players coming out of NAIA or JUCO that could come into that 23 program and be really successful. And we see that.
I was going to say, having done some of the research that we've done on the players over the course of the summertime, you look at some of the colleges these guys are coming from. These aren't blue bloods.
No.
They're not all coming from the major college programs that are going and winning national championships. Although, this year, who knows who can win a national championship after Vermont goes and does it, the Catamounts.
Right.
But really, this group that we've assembled over the years, there's some colleges, and I will say, I generally know almost all of the colleges based on working in local TV for almost 20 years. You kind of figure it out as you go when you work in different regions. I'll see a school name, and I'll be like, what? Where is that school? And you have to go look it up, and it's all part of their journey for these different guys.
And it's a stepping stool for them as well. Sometimes, like the Eduardo Coimbras, who come from a Division 2 program, showcase themselves within the 23s program. And, either we feel that player is then ready to sign a pro contract, or if they're not, we send them back to school. Hopefully, and especially what we did last year is we recruited younger, so that if they weren't quite ready to make that pro jump, we would know, or we would have them back for the next following summer. But it is a stepping stool, and so you'll see some names this year again from some schools that you've never heard of. But what's more important to us is that we bring in, one, the right players characteristically, but also very position oriented. Can they play in a system? Can they play the style of play? So those are things that when we recruit, myself, Matthew Alls, Nick Roll, Clayton Zellen, when we recruit those guys, we're really specific about how we recruit to be able to get it right. Because we don't have the luxury of going out and always watching them live. We do it with UNF, we do it with JU, we do it with Flagler College, we do it with some of the others that come in and play the likes of JU and UNF. But often it's a lot of conversations on the phone, a lot of references from head coaches or people that they've worked with before, and it has to be a good fit. I'd say that something the staff does really well is more so getting it right than not. We do fail. We do sometimes fail, and it's the name of the game. It's normal. So weed out process, right?
Well, sometimes you don't have to look very far. You got guys right here in North Florida like Micah Thomas, who just got drafted to Charlotte FC, number 9 overall. As someone who has been drafted themselves, I mean, can you speak on that at all, on what that experience is like just for Mike? And I'm sure you talked to him prior to the draft, and what was his mindset like?
Very mature. We talked before the draft. He didn't find out he was going to be in the draft on that Friday up until the Wednesday before, so just 2 days prior, or the Tuesday, I forget. But his coach at UConn was actually my teammate and roommate at Dallas. So coincidentally, when Chris was recruiting Micah for UConn, we had a lot of conversations to even bring Micah into that type of environment, into that type of program. He definitely fit as far as a player, but Chris wanted to know how is he as a character. How does he perform when somebody's not watching? And so what's great about what he's done is he's come out unannounced, and he wouldn't even tell me he would come out and watch some of his games, but he did, and he was very, very rigorous throughout that process. But special because Micah and I talked, I think that the day before, and we had a long conversation, honestly, and I've shared my experience with the draft, and then tried to give some guidance as far as what to expect and what to look out for, because everything is in shock. Everything happened so fast. Tried to prepare him for what could happen, what could not happen, and the best way to be in those situations is being prepared, or as prepared as you can be, so that when it happens, you know how to navigate through the next few steps. That is really important. So.
It is very different, by the way, the way American soccer works, with all these different pathways and places that it can take you from the college level to these lower division programs, to figuring out how am I going to get to where I eventually want to go. And it's so cool to see these players going on these different journeys. From a coaching perspective, got to be so much going on, like figuring out how it all fits together, especially with the way that the global world works in soccer versus the way the American world kind of works. They're two very, very different things, although you're seeing MLS trying to work its way towards that, right? With its development programs, with its homegrown type stuff. You see them leaning that way, but they're still working on it quite a bit.
I mean, unless, think about it, unless you're developing players yourself, you're probably buying players.
Yeah.
And if you're buying players, depending on how much you spend then, right, that could be costly. So, yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely a mix of European culture-based, development and American culture-based development here. But it's working, it's growing, it's evolving. Soccer here is definitely evolving. I mean, if you compare it to when I played, to what salary caps are now, to how the game is played overall, it's very, very different. It's grown.
Into the middle, Thomas, shot, save, rebound.
Really well.
How about that goal right there you're seeing on the screen?
I'm watching it now.
Still in high school when he scored that goal in the U.S. Open Cup, so it was a pretty special moment, I think, for everyone.
That's exactly the product that we try to develop. That was the Open Cup game. We put together a group because we couldn't bring in the college players. As you know, it was March. It was against NCAA rules. And local talent. You had Riyad Kobayar, who now again is playing back in Bosnia under pro contract. And you had
into the middle, Thomas, shot, save, rebound.
Charles Alonso.
Jacksonville.
He's obviously a legend here as well, and then you make a mixture of local guys and local academy players.
Jay Bolt at center back.
Jay Bolt, right? I mean, had to make some calls.
Head coach at Episcopal. Throw him out there. JJ into the game. I mean, it was just such a hodgepodge of players, and that's what made that story so unlikely and so great, winning that game. And obviously, Micah starred with that goal in regulation.
Right. And then having staff, even though it's goalkeeper staff that's
Nick
that's come
Rule.
up big, Nick Rule, so no, I mean, you could see even there that Micah's journey and experience there was like you could see where it was going to lead to and what the track where it was going to go. Scoring that goal for us as a left back, his willingness, his determination, his eagerness, it got him to where he wants. And now again, he starts from scratch. He has to understand and know where he is and understand the environment and work through things. Just like Dudley, Ethan Dudley, just like Brian Schaefer, just like even Garrison Tubbs, who was with us before, Owen Gusky, and so on. So I could name a few.
Which is a good sign, by the way, that you can name a few.
Yeah, absolutely. Shows you, at the end of the day, when you measure it, is it going in the right direction? You measure it on that type of success. You measure it on the players that you develop and for them to sign pro contracts. And I think we've done it. The staff and the organization has done an unbelievable job to get those players there and to create this type of environment.
All right, good stuff. All right, we're going to take one more quick break here. When we come back, we got some stories from around the world of soccer to discuss, as well as your weird soccer story of the week. Lou is excited. Look at the excitement in his face.
I am excited.
There's the excitement.
I'm excited because this man's sitting next to me. I think it's just too funny that we got Tommy Krizanovic on the show today.
It's perfect timing. Perfect timing. All right, that's all coming up next right here on Fleet and Footy. You're watching the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. We'll be right back.
Ancla Dorada. The official bear of your Jacksonville Armada.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jacks, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jacks is always on. Now, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jacks 24/7. People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Hey everyone, Olivia Tasley here from Action Sports Jacks to tell you all the different ways you can watch our new 24/7 network. 3 easy steps. You don't even need a pen and paper to write it down. Step number 1, download the app. Search Action News Jacks in your app store either on your phone or your smart TV. Then, once you're on the app, click on that little drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner with the 3 little lines. That'll show you these options, and boom, right here, click Action Sports Jacks 24/7, and you will be brought to our continuous stream channel. That app can be accessed through all these different platforms, whether you have Roku, Fire TV, Smart TV, Apple TV, or Google TV. You can find our app. Now, if you don't have access to the app, don't worry, we still got you covered. We're across all social media platforms from Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Twitch. We have a podcast channel. Plus, check out our short reels on our TikTok. Action Sports Jacks 24/7. It's on all the time and everywhere.
This is Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network, sponsored by Alive Credit Union.
All right, welcome back to Fleet and Footy. Lou, we got a top 100 footballers list, and run them through there for me. We saw Pulisic.
You got Pulisic high up there. You got Jonathan Davids as the highest CONCACAF player. Everyone wants to know where Ronnie is. Highest MLS player, and everyone wants to know where the GOAT, Messi, is. Number 27. Top 5 rolling out. Jude Bellingham rounds out the top 5. At 4, you got the star boy, Lamine Yamal. Had a great Euros tournament. Haaland, who continues his scoring run, not so much recently. Vinny Jr., great season with Real Madrid, not so much with Brazil. And number 1, Rodri, looking a little mad there from the last couple of games, looking mad because he's injured, but who also had a great season, a great Euros. Just thought we'd bring that up a little bit to show that
I don't care how old
I
don't care how old Messi is. You cannot put him 27. I don't care what competition he's playing. The fact that you want to tell me there's 26 better players in the world than that guy?
I don't think there's too many. What was your conclusion on that one?
I'm not sure about 27.
I mean, come on.
When was this list updated? Let's talk about
this. Is this year. This is at the end of this year. The Guardian put this out. It's an English publication. So.
Well, they probably don't like MLS and the fact that he comes and plays in America. I get it. I don't know. That just
Harry Kane was number 6. Had to barely not get into that top 5 there. So they put the English boys up as high as they could.
All right,
very flawed list, I would say then.
Yes, without a doubt, biased, flawed, no doubt. Have you had the chance to watch a lot of football here the last couple weeks, Tommy? That's one of the cool things about the holidays. You got Boxing Day. You always got some really good matchups and great games around New Year's as well.
Yeah, I have. Unfortunately, Chelsea hasn't really performed during this time of the year, which I was hoping they would, but they haven't. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to watch quite a bit. Some really good football, some really good soccer being played, and very competitive. And talk about Liverpool; they're just taking it away, aren't they?
Running away with it.
Give Salah the contract.
Yeah,
he deserves it.
We'll send in the Lou notice that he wants this thing to be done.
He deserves it, man. He's played his butt off over there at Liverpool, and like you said, they're on a roll right now. So looks like they're going to tie it up pretty soon, I think.
By the way, last month we had Tom Piatak II on, one of the co-owners of Carlisle United over there in England. They won a game here last week, so big news for them. They're fighting in that relegation battle. They're right down there. They're still in the relegation zone. They gave up a couple of late goals in a game the other day, but it's been cool to kind of add them to my list of teams that I now want to follow because a Jacksonville family owns this team. Playing over there in the 4th division of English soccer, and it doesn't get as much publicity as it probably should, but really cool to add them to my list of teams to keep up with, as if there's not enough already. You watch one episode of Wrexham, you want to know how they're doing in their whole deal. For me in Jacksonville is checking out what Fulham's up to because we cover the Jaguars. We cover Shad Khan. He owns Fulham as well. I know you're not a big fan of Fulham, obviously, if you're a fan of Chelsea and how that result went recently. But it is one of the cool things about the sport is that you always have a bunch of teams that you can kind of add to your list because they're all playing in all these different leagues. Then you have international teams. It is one of the unique things about the sport where someone could say, "Oh, what's your favorite soccer team?" and then you list 5 of them. Mm-hmm. You can list off all these different ones from, whether it's one in your home country, like I could say, oh yeah, Ajax is great, or, Den Haag, one of the teams from the Netherlands. Then you could say, oh, what's your favorite team in the U.S.? You go find that one. Everyone's got to have a Premier League team because that's the high standard that everybody watches. So that is a cool aspect of it. Although, I will say, anytime someone asks me, what's your club?
There it is.
Let them know. We let them know.
Number 1 in our hearts.
Let them know number 1 in our hearts for sure. All right, Lou. It's time. Are you ready for your weird soccer story of the week?
Drum roll. This story comes out of Step 12 in Germany, the Kreisliga D.
Okay. So the 12th level down in German soccer.
This is a great picture. Hold this on there, Hammy, just for a little bit, just so the people can see. This is a full starting 11 of Kurtanovic's. This comes from a team called DJK Florsheim. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Elmar can correct me later on the pronunciation. But this is their second team. It includes a bunch of brothers, uncles, cousins, relatives. And yeah, I could not believe this screenshot when I saw it. I had to dig a little bit deeper to figure this out. Tommy K, what do you think of this?
Well, crazy, but what's even crazy, I don't know if you knew this or not, but my father-in-law's last name is Krizanovic.
Oh, so we can add another one to the squad.
He might have been in that starting 11. There's a 1 in 11 chance he was one of those guys.
My two brothers-in-law are Almir Krizanovic and Amir Krizanovic.
Is he any of these players right here? Because these are all the Krizanoviches.
This is, who knows what's going on there.
They couldn't reframe it for the shorter guys? Come on.
I know, that's bad.
The camera's got to work on that. All right, well, we're just about out of time here, but I do want to say, if any of them have a really good game, do they have to come out for a Krizanovic call? No, like a curtain call? Nah, don't worry about it.
Wow.
All right, yeah, do what I can. That's your weird soccer story of the week. That is Fleet and Footy. Head coach Tommy Krizanovic, thank you so much for jumping in and entertaining us for an hour. That's for sure.
Tommy.
Lewis Llerandi, Stuart Weber. We'll be back next week right here every Thursday, 2 o'clock on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7.